Here is the Honda HR-V and the top 10 things you need to know. The first is in here. Observe, as inside you will see buttons for controlling things. There's a little song, and that's because Honda understand that not very many people really like touchscreens. Finger marks, not very safe, and probably regulations. We like to be able to control the car without taking our eyes off the road. Heater, there we are. Number two is space, because this has actually quite a lot more room in some areas than other mini SUVs. In the back there is 1305 litres. It's not a lot. It's actually smaller than the Q3, isn't it? But there's a reason for that.
As a full hybrid, some of the room might be taken up with the Formula One design battery technology. It's self-charging, meaning you get a semi-electric car without plugging it in.
It has 460 miles of range. That's because the battery and the engine work together. Largely then, you're going to be driving around like this, in peaceful silence. It's got a thing called IMMI, Honda's proprietary clever technology deciding when to use the engine, when to use electric, and when to use a bit of both. Very nice little feature here. This is called the walking away feature, which is named after Craig David. You press that button and you walk away. And as I'm doing that, it will close the boot. Any car with this kind of design and a door that opens with one of these is a win for me. Do that all day.
Combined power is 129 horsepower, which equates to around 10-second 0 to 60 and only 109 miles an hour. But
what is it they say? There's more to life than making it go faster.
Not only that, but it saves you from one of the 7,000 speed cameras in the UK that prosecute 250,000 motorists a year. Not being one of them by accident is something less to concern yourself with.
You don't even need to worry about the battery in this, because Honda are guaranteeing it for 5 years or 90,000 miles, which is very good. And I've just noticed something else as well. The option of light headlining. So if you don't want to spend money on a sunroof, it's still quite bright in there. Back onto the driving, what is it like? Well, it's actually very relaxing. There's a very relaxing feel to this in general, comforting and relaxing. The engine's now come on, so it's decided with its IMMI that it's time to use the engine, even though I'm going slow. Clever. Is it loud? Not really. You can hear the engine. I did read somewhere that someone said it was loud. Oh, come on. You can't hear the tyres, but again, I don't think it's an issue. There's no wind noise. It is generally very well put together. You get a lot of kit for the money as well on this, and I wonder if this is something for slightly shorter journeys than longer ones. Although I would do some longer ones in this myself, because it's got that.
Honda call their automation assistance systems Honda Sense, and it includes lane centering and adaptive cruise control and low speed follow, all at no extra cost. CarPlay and Android are all wireless and of course included free.
This is the magic seat concept, which, oh, and also this is Elliot's water bottle, who's on the camera today because Elliot is 5 years old. Here is the area for your bicycle. So imagine if you are a mountain biker, you might get a racer in there. That is brilliant, it goes along there. If you want to put the seats back down, they both do this by the way, you just drop that to there, and then if you want to, this moves as well. Magic seat. Did you know that Honda made the very first in-car navigation system? And can you guess what year it was?
All you have to do when setting off on a journey is tell it where you're going.
1981.
Travel Pilot will cost about £2,000.
Quick look inside the cabin. There's a couple of things that I really like. There's a floating calming font on the speedometer and the instrument cluster, and the way it lights. There's something very calming about that. I don't know what it is. And something else is interesting as well. Even though this is a cooler, more modern, allowing young people in, there's some really interesting things. For example, the size of the fonts. I mean, look at that. Look at the time. Right, that is for an older person potentially to make sure they know what time it is. That's Arial 32, that is. And then when you come to here, the navigation, everything is very easy to understand. There's a little thumbnail, you click the thumbnail, and then everything's really easy. One thing's quite odd at first, and then you get used to it pretty much straight away, and that is that this whole area here is angled away from the driver. That's unusual because it's normally towards the driver, but there'll be a reason for that in the comments. And then again, as we say, you know, you can actually hear these buttons, heated seats, 2 USBs. Why is it that they put the slightly older USB in cars? Not quite sure. And then here on the gear there is B mode, which is a bit like old-fashioned braking down a hill mode. So you go from drive, you pull in the stalk and pull it towards you, and then you go into sort of manual mode, or B. B means slowing down on a hill.
Starting price of 29 grand means you won't pay expensive car VED thing, which is an additional £410 a year. On Leasing.com, the comparison site where there are millions of deals, often that work out cheaper than PCP by several grand, around 300 and something, and it's a handsome car for that money, which you could probably drop off a cliff before it breaks.
I'm also going to commend Honda for their handling characteristics in this, because I've got a very imperceptible suspension. That's how I would describe how this sort of rides. It's not firm, it's not light, but when you get to a corner, I really like the way this corners. I'm going to do one now. There's a tiny amount of body roll, but it's almost sporty. It doesn't feel like an SUV really. Number 10 is the app, which has some unique features. One being geolocation. So you can set an area on the map where you don't want the car to leave, and when it does leave, you get a notification, which is quite useful for things like holidays and so on. The other thing is it will also locate the car if you go to a new town and you forgot where you've parked. It's slightly different. The third thing is obviously breakdown from the phone, and fourth, it's also a key.
Oh, and there's more. So this makes 11. The Honda 5-year pack. 5-year service, 5-year warranty, 5-year breakdown. A very compelling then, value for money, small SUV you should look at.